Hey guys, how we doing? So, this was a review I really wasn't expecting to make. This is MP-10. As the video before this is probably the MP-10 review I did with my brother, where I stated I didn't have an MP-10. I recorded that video months ago. So this video is after Christmas, and this was bought for me as a Christmas gift. So, there you go. I have Takara MP-10, a figure I never actually had. When I had a normal MP-10, it was the Hasbro edition, and then MP-44 came out, so I just got rid of it. But, you know. Here we go. So this is the Takara version of MP-10, Masterpiece Convoy, perfect new model. It's version 2.0. So side of the box, front of the box, side of the box, top of the box, contents. Then the back of the box, the actual size of the figure, him with Rodimus Convoy, the axe, the matrix, the gun, him, roller, and the trailer. Vehicle mode, he comes with spike, and then all the stuff he can do. So, this is MP-10, who, as we can see here, as I mentioned in the previous review I did of him, came with the trailer. He's much smaller, but he looks a lot more like a truck than MP-01 did. I'm actually going to try to go into more detail with the mold in this figure than I did with the original. So, speaking of the original, here he is with the original Optimus Prime, who I also now have a trailer for. And here he is with MP-01. So we got the original toy, the original masterpiece, and the second masterpiece. So this one had its faults. It's not lined up right. It kind of just looks like a box on wheels. It didn't come with a trailer if you didn't get the MP-04 version, which I didn't. Had the shortened smokestacks, which only applied to the American release. But it's still, for the time, it wasn't bad. The original figure obviously does the truck mode really well. That was something they did really good back then. This is probably, for the time it came out, the best version of Optimus Prime's truck out there. It was as close to perfect as you could get in 2011. And it looks really good. I do like it quite a bit. So yeah, MP-01, the original MP-10. So the reason why I think this figure exists was to reboot the Masterpiece line. Because the Masterpiece line really was kind of an all over the place thing. You started really high with MP-01, and then you had Starscream, then you had Megatron, and then, Grimlock, and then Rodimus. So they're like, we need to get this back on track. So they released a new version of him to be better in scale with Rodimus, and then all the new figures they had coming out. So it was really a way to reboot the Masterpiece line. And I think it did so pretty flawlessly. So, like I said in my last review, mine don't have roller and they don't have spike. Here's Spike. He is a little guy, got not that much detail, but he is still the Spike I use on my display. I'll talk about that in about 34 videos from now. But, you know, I'm trying to do the Masterpiece figures in order. So, we won't get to that for quite some time, but difference between this and the American version, I don't have the American version on hand, but he's darker. He's much darker than the Hasbro version. The Hasbro version is more based on the cartoon. This was more based on the original toy. So, and he doesn't have these painted for some reason. I don't know. There are a couple different paint apps that probably make the Hasbro version a little bit better. But there are also paint apps that work in the favor of this one, and we'll get to those. But we'll go ahead, we'll get him off to the side, and we'll go ahead and start with the trailer. So he has these legs under here that help it stand when you don't have Optimus carrying it, which is pretty nice. Again, this is more like the toy where it was back here instead of up here like the cartoon was. It looks really nice, though. It's all shiny. And you can open these up to give it some legs, and those come down automatically, which is pretty cool. You can open this up, and he was upside down. All right, let's get the ramp down. And boom. So here we got our boy Roller, and the American version is blue. This one's silver. So this one's actually more cartoon accurate, which is not what they were doing back then. But anyway, we can go ahead and open this up. And he's got all this silver paint in there, which the American version does not have. It looks really cool. Actually, I love how this looks. Just all that silver looks amazing. And then, of course, this comes up to be the claw thing. So there you essentially Optimus Prime's base mode. He can sit in there if you want him to. This is also where the axe stores. So there's the axe. And if you want to be, you know, that person, here's the repair bay mode. It's a thing. You know, it's a thing that the original toy could do. So, it's represented on this figure. And also, if you wanted to, if we get it all folded up, you could push these pieces down, which are really tight. And close that up. So now it's got this weird gun thing hanging out the top. I mean, the original toy could do it, so sure. Oh, and Spike can sit in there. Just really wanted him to. But you know, that's almost it for that's pretty much it for the trailer. I mean, it's a trailer. I admit I like my Optimuses to come with their trailers, so I'm happy it's here. And now back to Roller. He's got a couple of other functions. So Spike can sit in him because of course he can. You can actually fold. I'll go ahead and. Actually, I'll get that when we get to Roller mode. He can, if I remember how to do this, right? You could fold this piece up like that. And then you can get it all clipped together. Which I apparently am terrible at. There we go. Roller can pull a trailer, so this kind of explains where the trailer went, where Optimus Prime was fighting. Speaking of Optimus Prime fighting, let's go ahead and get him transformed. The transformation is exactly the same as the figures I just did, the two MP-10s. So, I mean, I'll still show you in case you missed it, but so we're going to fold these mirrors in, push this piece back to fold these pieces out, open that up, pull those out, go ahead and rotate the arms out. You can turn these hands out, push those in, push that in, and then pull the smokestack up, and the gas pipe. Same thing for the other arm. Open up his chest and then push the head out. push the head out. And push all that in. We're going to turn these around. Fold all of these pieces up. Push those pieces in. Unclip all of that. And collapse the body down. So it all clips in. And then you can go ahead and get the camera raised up. You can close the chest up. And then these will just make sure you get the arms like this. It makes it much easier. These pieces will just fold onto the back. And we're getting there. So go ahead and fold these pieces out. Push those down. Turn the waist around. Get the legs all situated. Fold these pieces out. And then uncollapse his feet, and then you can push the feet in. When you get them transformed back into vehicle mode, there is a button back here, just like on MP-01, to push the legs up. So here we have MP-10 in his robot mode. And I've got to say, I do love, still to this day, love how this figure looks. He looks really good. I lost my train of thought. He looks really good. So from size comparisons, so we're going to use the same figures we did earlier. So here's the original Optimus Prime. And here's MP-01. Massive size difference. He's obviously the smallest. That MP-1 is gigantic. But I gotta say, I do prefer MP-10 to MP-1. He looks more like Optimus Prime to me. Just much more like Prime. This one he has like the silhouette of Optimus Prime, but he doesn't like fundamentally feel like Optimus Prime to me. He feels like if Optimus Prime were older and like decaying, and that's not what I mean. If Optimus Prime were older and just beaten by war. Whereas this one looks like Optimus Prime. Articulation-wise, he doesn't also, before I get to the articulation, he actually doesn't have the same amount of features that MP-01 has. He doesn't have the moving mouth, he doesn't have the light-up matrix, he doesn't have the wrist communicators. But that's okay. He actually does, I'll talk about that in a second. He actually does have a matrix, which, given if you have adult-sized hands, can be a bitch to get out. But it's doable. I love how this looks. This thing just looks great. One side's more closed, one side's more open. He can hold it, but yeah, I'm not going to bother showing you guys that. Good, so my copy, I actually got used. And yeah, my left leg, front to back is fine. My left to right is really loose. And I don't know what to do about it. I've tried tightening the screw, I tried unscrewing it and tightening it, and nothing works. So, I'm thinking about just putting some floor polish in there. I don't know if that'll work. I don't know. Everything else in this figure is perfectly fine. Everything else, just this. It's the only thing loose about this figure. Front to back is fine. Front to back is fine. Right here, it's fucking fine. Knees are fine. Everything else is fine. Just this. I don't know what happened. But articulation-wise, his head is on a... It's not on a full 360, actually. I thought it was. Oh, it is. It's just really stiff going that way. If you go that way, it's not a full 360. Waist is a full 360. Legs forward, back, a single knee joint, forward and back. I don't know why you'd make your Optimus pose like that. He has an ankle. He has toe, but that's more for the transformation. arms are on a full 360. He's got a single elbow joint. He has a turn at the bicep, and he's got wrist. His hands open, but these move by themselves, and then the finger is on like a single pointed joint, so he can be like, "Hey, light or darkest," you know, that type of thing. Freedom is the right of all sentient beings type thing. Now, I was saying earlier that there were a couple paint apps on the Hasbro version that might have made it superior depending on who you are. And I get where it's coming from. So, if you look at his eyes, they are actually blue. But they're really dark on this toy. And I'm not sure what the reason behind that was. But they're really dark on this toy. Whereas in the American version, they actually painted him bright, so he actually looks more alive. So if anything, the Hasbro version is the one to get. But, you know, if you can find it nowadays. Finding this guy was a bitch, too, but, you know. I'm sure my grandpa had a fun time finding it. Anyway. Really, he didn't find it. He gave me the money for it. But, so his gun actually stores in the bag. There's a little clip you can give to him. And it looks okay. Part of me thinks it's a little small. He holds it better than MP-01 did. But I like MP-01's gun look better. But he holds his a lot better than MP-01 did. And he also has the axe, which only goes on that way. I never have my Optimus Primes with their axes, ever. That's more of a Nemesis Prime thing that I do, but Optimus Prime, I never give him the axe. I don't know why, I just don't. I don't see Optimus really using an axe. That's not a me thing. Oh, and I guess I should show this too. Roller can hold the gun. If you really wanted him to. Yeah, see, that's the only thing that's loose on this figure, is that outward bend on the left leg. But, yeah, so Roller can hold the gun. So there is that. Aside from mine having a loose leg, which will very likely not be an issue on yours, and I don't know how that happened. I guess the guy who had this before me like really loved this figure and just loosened out the leg over time, or if he had a QC problem with it right out of the box. I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but this is probably still to this day the most solid Transformer figure ever made. And if my leg weren't so loose, that would be more accurate. But generally speaking, this has got to be, to me, the most solid Transformer toy, official or otherwise, ever made. This is like gold standard for how Transformers go nowadays. Was, especially after Match Pistol, everything was scaled to match him. Even, I think, as much as I love, I'm just going to throw it, as much as I really do love the MP-44 mold, this is a very, very solid figure, and probably the most solid Transformer toy ever. There may be figures I like better than this as a whole, like personal preference, but objectively, I gotta say this is the most solid Transformer toy just ever made, and it is definitely, whatever series you collect, G1, Beast Wars, Prime, Armada, Energon, RID, Cybertron, any of them. This is a figure you really should have in your collection. Any version of this mold, even if you get the weird Ghostbusters ones or something like that. This is a figure that should be in your collection, like no matter what line you collect. It's a very, very solid Transformer. And I'm happy to have it. If I would pick one, it would either be this version or the Hasbro version. They are hard to find on eBay for a decent price nowadays. This was $300 now. So, yeah, For that price, you might as well just get the MP-44 with the extra $100. I would be surprised if you're a Transformer and you don't have this mold. Now, I would be shocked, but anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for next time. Take care.